My name is Mark Resch. I'm originally from Chicago. I went to school at Grinnell College, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I've just gotten another graduate degree at Golden Gate University here in San Francisco. I was a grad student at the Art Institute of Chicago. I think I was the first person accepted to the Art Institute as a grad student based on a completely electronic portfolio. If I'm not the first, I don't know who did it before me. One of the faculty members there was a guy named Phil Morton. He was friends with Tom DeFonte and Dan Sandine out of the Electronic Visualization Lab in Chicago and had done many, many collaborative image processed video artworks together. He put together a group of people who helped with the AV needs of SIGGRAPH. My first year, so it was 83, it was Detroit. Interested in the community and in what was going on, and volunteered under the AV, and then got into volunteering for SIGGRAPH itself. I was the art show chair in 1989 in Boston, and then I was materials chair in Las Vegas, and then co-chair for 93. So I have a checkered past. I am incapable of doing things that I'm not really interested in doing. My undergraduate degree is in history because that was what I was interested in. My first graduate degree is in art. One of my faculty said, you can never get a job teaching. So of course, that's one of the things that I wanted to do. I got an appointment at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I was in the art department and in the School of Engineering. I did both. I did some research at the Center for Computer Graphics when that was around. I had a bunch of students, taught classes, developed a graduate program for their interactive electronic arts at Rensselaer Studios. I wrote the proposal that made that graduate program, and that graduate program continues today. While I was at RPI, I was complaining at lunch with my department chair about, why am I the worst paid faculty member at the university? And I wasn't, but I was complaining about it. And he's like, well, Mark, what you need to do is you need to get consulting work. And so I did that. In addition to SIGGRAPH, I was very interested in SIGG-CHI at the time, in the computer-human interface side. I had a client that was referred to me, a potential client, that made educational software. And this was a company called Computer Curriculum Corporation. Pat Suppies out of Stanford University was the founder of that. And his idea was he made hand-built Unix terminals, all of the old green screens that were teaching kids math and reading. In 89, it was clear that low-cost graphics computers were going to be available. He asked me to come in and kind of assess what they were doing and then kind of lay out a roadmap, what they could do, both technically and aesthetically. He loved the report and said, okay, well, come out to California and join CCC. And I did that. I had no idea how startups worked in California. He said yes to everything I asked for. And that was great. So I left the university and moved to California. After CCC, the 1990 art show chair was Tom Linehan. Tom Linehan was at the Visualization Lab. He's out of Ohio State, worked with the Cranston and Surrey guys. He then went to Texas A&M, did the Viz Lab there. Then he invited me to join CRSS architects and build a visualization lab in Los Angeles. We took some grad students from Texas A&M. We built a computer system that would look at data and space any way you wanted to do it from an architectural point of view. This is in 1992, 93. GIS, Wavefront, back in the day, visualization software. Had a bunch of SGIs. And, the idea was that we could look at data and space. That company had a really hard time in the recession that followed, as SIGGRAPH did, actually. In that kind of early 90s recession, I had to find something else to do. So I started a company with someone from the Getty that was funded by the Getty Trust and Eastman Kodak. It's called Luna Imaging. Luna tried to make high quality reference kind of level photographs available. And this was 1993, right? This is before we had much of the computing horsepower and the ability to kind of look at images that we have now. So we made image databases for scholarly work, for works of art primarily aimed at art historians and curators and that kind of community. As you can imagine, the Getty would be very interested in that. It lasted a long time, but never really got really big. 94, 95, Rick Beach, who was around SIGGRAPH quite a bit on the technical side. He was either, I think he was papers chair, or maybe he was a panels chair at one point. He and I got to talking, and he's like, well, why don't you come up? I've got a new thing that I'm doing with Xerox in the business services side, but out of Xerox PARC. And so I moved back to Palo Alto and worked on that. My job was to take technology that Xerox PARC was doing and wrap people around it and turn it into business services. One of the researchers had this Spark One on his desk called Xerox.com. We were in the top 10 busiest sites on the internet because we had a thing called the Geographic Information Server. We had a little database that you could put in lat long and get back a map of where you were. I ran Xerox.com and took it from a researcher's desk to his 65 country websites in 17 languages. It exploded. These things for me were like, Forrest Gump. I was just in the right place at the right time. I left Xerox during the kind of whole .com thing, and I joined a nonprofit consortium called CommerceNet. Ran that for a couple of years. Started a company with some Xerox PARC researchers called Onami Labs. We kind of described ourselves as we could build one of anything. We wanted to be in the kind of prototype and demo business. As it turned out, what really was making exhibits for museums. I got recruited to join Creative Commons and was the CEO of Creative Commons for a little while, what to do with images and what to do with rights. And then after Creative Commons, worked in Canada at the Banff Center for the Arts. That was their director of digital media research. And so I went back to grad school and got a degree in counseling psychology, and that's what I'm doing today. So today I'm working as a therapist. I have clients, I see them. We, talk about their issues and figure out ways to address them. SIGGRAPH 93 was a really interesting thing. This is my recollection, so you can adjust your Mark-O-Matic filter appropriately. My recollection is that SIGGRAPH Dallas made a good deal of money in 1990. SIGGRAPH Las Vegas turned on a small profit, like 200K or something. SIGGRAPH 92 lost a little bit of money for the first time. It was the first time that was Maxine Brown, and she did a great job, but the economy was in the toilet. It was terrible. And so my year was 93. And if you look at this trend, $500,000, $250,000, negative $250,000 us, we were in the executive committee, and, we were all worried about what is going to happen, what's happening to this thing that we really, that I'd been associated with for 10 years and that all of us really loved, that had been around. It was the 20th conference by the time that I ran my year. We did some really interesting things. We went back to the drawing board and pulled in kind of a Noah's Ark of SIGGRAPH and took them to on a retreat for a weekend up to Snowbird and asked them what to do. This is a thing that I had learned at computer curriculum, was how to budget for things. And that was to, you take your top 100 things that this group is going to recommend, and you're going to run out of money at number 15. But you can horse trade between 13, 14, and 15, and then a bunch of lower things, and to just kind of make it into a constellation that makes sense. The feedback that we got, because we did some surveys as well, was don't change the technical program. And then we're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Don't change the technical program. Talking with our papers chair, Jim Kajia, and our panels chair, we learned that don't change the technical program meant make sure the colleagues that I see every day still come. Because what I want to do is I want to see my colleagues that I've known in my career and that I collaborate with. And then I want to see interesting grad students that are coming up and maybe recruit them to come join my lab. And I want to see if there's any kind of, then beyond that, there are the interconnections and things that are important. But it was mostly don't change that. Don't change the technical program didn't mean don't change the format of the technical program. It meant make sure that it's academically rigorous, that it meets our needs, that the people that came last year are going to come again, are going to want to come again. So there were two important insights in our year. One was that design was important and not ever talked about. We had art, and we had tech, but we didn't have design. And then we didn't really have a way to showcase interesting demos. And so that became Tomorrow's Realities. We did that for the first time. And we had a focus on design for the first time.
Is Tomorrow's Realities what became eTech?
Yeah. Yeah. Not me, it was the group, right? It was the conference committee. We also tried to make SIGGRAPH very meeting friendly, because that was some of the feedback we got from the technical program. So we made sure that there were benches and places to talk and all kinds of things that really hadn't been before, or hadn't been in the same way. We kind of put things out so that you could stumble from thing to thing rather than have to go explicitly into this ballroom to find it. In Anaheim, we had the perfect venue for that. We had an architect and space designer designing our space. It wasn't just doing what every convention does.
Did you contribute to the design concept?
It was one of the architects from that firm, Jeff Mayer. Yeah, and Jeff has been around SIGGRAPH for a long time since then. Before the conference, we were the conference committee, SIGGRAPH executive committee, everybody was just panicked that we were going to run out of money. And we ended up putting almost $1 million surplus in the bank. And it was because we worked with the community and listened to the community and did what we told ourselves to do. Some of it was the work that we did. Some of it was just the luck of the economy coming back and being in Southern California, being, around Hollywood, and having really great interest in computer graphics at the time, because we had Jim Cameron be our keynote speaker, and that was pretty exciting for people and nice to have that kind of connection. We had kind of amazing parties. We had the Pixar party that year, had Steve Jobs come with Joan Baez and that kind of whole Hollywood sort of crew. That was a lot of fun. Ed Catmull did tremendous work on our committee. Jim Kajia on the paper side. Yeah, it was just an outstanding year for SIGGRAPH, and I think really good for the business side and really good for the scholarly side. Academic, engineering, computer science, design, and art. It was good, kind of solid in all of those areas. Thank you very much. This was really delightful to kind of talk about these things and remember them, and remember. As I'm talking, I'm remembering all of the people who contributed. One of the most remarkable things to SIGGRAPH when I ran it, and I'm pretty sure it lasts today, is the way that a conference committee works. And that on 6 or 7 meetings over a couple of year period, you really pull off this amazing event. And that's the meetings of the conference committee. But then, there are so many subcommittee meetings and deadlines and processes that happen. It's really quite an extraordinary organization, and I don't know that there's another one like it.